Good morning, Restoration Nation. How's everyone doing today? So I want to talk to you about the future. So first of all, this industry is changing. I grew up in the industry. I'm a second generation restorer. It's not the industry that I started in, and it is changing so quickly. At the core of what we do, we're still doing restoration. We're still putting equipment out there. Yes, there's more technology, there's more AI, but the core of what we do, it's never changed. We have to document things faster. We have to communicate with more parties, whether it's the insurance company, it's an agent, it's a broker, it's a property manager. We've got to get better service to the customer because we all as consumers, we expect more. And because we're in a world where there's an insurance environment, there's that much level of expectation that no other service industry in the world has to deal with because of the complexity of insurance. And there is so much pressure changing in the world. We've got two things we can do. We can either get ahead of it or we can let it consume us. And so that is one of the amazing things that we at the RA are doing, because we all have different logos. We all work with individual companies. There's very little we can do on an individual level. But with the power of the RAA and all of us coming together, we can tackle these pressures that we're getting, whether it's from insurance carriers, it's software providers, you name it, the pressure's real. The pressure's from the consumer on what people want. And so it's really important that we all come together. I think it's really important that you all go home, tell your employees about what the RAA is doing. That's on us to go home and tell everyone what we're about. Go talk to your peers in your industry, because at the end of the day, there's like 30,000 of us that do this, but there's only, Simon just said, there's 2,000 of us that are members. There's a lot of us that are not members in the RAA. And so for us to continue to have the power, you saw the financials up there. We're battling insurance carriers that are in $1 trillion industry. We've got $1 million in revenue. If we really want to make an impact in your future, I want this to be a future where my kids want to join the industry, your kids want to join the industry, and our grandkids. But in order to do that, we've got to come together. So I'm going to kind of walk you through what the industry is. This is a giant growing industry. This is one of those industries. Private equity loves the industry because it's growing. Global warming, whether you believe it or not, it's here. There's more extreme events. And yes, we had 2 down years last year. Claim volume was down, but weather's not changing. I don't care if you're in the cold in the east or you're in the heat in the west. There's more extreme events. We've got more rain events. We've got more tornadoes. We've had more hurricanes the last 20 years. That's not going to change. This industry will continue to grow as you look over a 2 to 5 year period. Again, you're going to have ebbs and flows on a year-to-year basis, but we're living in a $200 billion industry, and I'm going to walk you through the math. Verus did about $110 billion in claims last year. Cotality ran about $40 billion in claims. That gets you to 150. So Jeff, where's the other $50 billion? Well, there's insureds out there, and I'll give you one example, Walmart. They've got I think it's a $100 million deductible. So those numbers, everything under deductibles are through the roof, residentially and commercially. So Verus doesn't have data. Cotality doesn't have data. We individually may have that data for things that are under deductible, but if they're not reported, it's not counted in there. A $200 billion industry. We're bigger than the roofing industry. We're bigger than the electrical industry. We're bigger than the plumbing industry. We're not even recognized by our government. RAA has been working on getting a NAICS code and an SIC code so we can actually be recognized as a trade. We're probably one of the largest trades in all of construction. There's a real path and a real future in this industry as it continues to grow. Now, if you look at the slide, a lot of it's roofing. So roofing's 30% of it. So if you take that's again, roughly $60 billion or so in claims, but there's still $140 billion. If you look at, there's so many of us that do this. So this is just an incredible opportunity. I'm so excited to represent all of you, but there are absolutely things that are changing that we need everyone's help with. And I kind of want to walk you through some of the pressures that are happening and maybe some of the complexities and why they exist. So I'm going to walk you through the difference between roofing and what we do. And this is all from Verisk Xactimate data. So if you look at roofing, exterior siding, again, I called it 10 trades, looking at the trade categories within Xactimate out of the 87 trades. We as restorers, we're working in all 87 trades. If I'm a roofing contractor, I'm working across 10 trades. Again, very, very simple in comparison. You got 1,500 line items in Xactimate versus 27,000 line items. We're in a very complex industry. Anytime you've got 27,000 options that you can choose for any singular estimate. That's why what we do is so complex, because we live in a world where we're using a complex system that's out there to help insurance. It's also a great tool. I'm a big fan of Xactimate, but it's complex. Again, the industry is complex when you're doing work for people. And again, regardless of what your business is, whether you do insurance work or not, insureds are getting reimbursed, whether you're part of that process or not. And so it's just very, very complex. So pressure. So we're in the middle of this industry. At the end of the day, the way I like to relate it, insurance is $1 trillion industry. We're a $200 billion industry. I'll use the analogy of a car. We're one wheel on the car. Does the insurance company need us? Absolutely. Because if you take a wheel off, how far can you drive? I can still drive a little bit, but if the wheel's getting deflated at some point, they absolutely need us. We are the face of the insurance company. But again, they've got big dollars. We've got very small dollars. And so on one side, I've got consultants. I've got building consultants. I've got TPAs. You've got all kinds of third-party reviewers going on now. You've got the actual adjuster and the agent. You've got the customer who wants more. Every customer expects more now than they ever did before. And then there's other pressures that are going on, and I'm going to highlight just a few. So one that's happened recently, we released a white paper on Monday. It's called the Verisk Large Loss Labor Efficiency Model. Raise of hands, anyone heard of that? It's still fairly new. Anyone using Xactimate, it's intended for large losses. It's already being deployed by carriers. The second you or your estimators click that over a restoration job, you are automatically lowering your gross estimate revenue by roughly 5%. If any of you have been around long enough, you'll know about total loss rebuild. Every time you hit that button, it doesn't show it on the bottom of the estimate. So if you've got an estimator that doesn't know it, every time you click that, you're lowering your estimate by 20%. Gross revenue, off the top. We at RA, again, I wish this never happened, but the cat's out of the bag. Again, Verisk runs their own business. We have been hard at work. Like, we're talking 3-4 meetings a week for the last 3 months. It's still there, but I will tell you, with our white paper that we release, if you don't have it, go to our website, use the membership. That's what you're paying for. It will give you all of the reasons why it shouldn't apply. Is it complicated? Is there a permit? Is there a second story building? There's a list of 20 items why that wouldn't apply. That's impacting, and I'll talk a little bit more about margins later, but I don't have 5% to give in my business, and I'm assuming most of you don't have 5% to give in your business. So this was done, again, for a variety of reasons, and there are reasons why labor efficiency does exist and why they create it, and I'll give you an example. So I've got an industrial warehouse, 100,000 square feet. I need to extract category 3 water at, again, let's call it a couple dollars a foot. So it's a couple $100,000 square foot. That makes sense when it's $100,000. I don't know that it would be fair or reasonable to bill $300,000 or $400,000 for what may take 4 guys, maybe 2 in a truck to do extraction for the next, again, call it 12 hours or 24 hours, and then to bill $400,000. Again, Xactimate was built on a 2,500 square foot house, not on extracting 100,000 square feet. So there are reasons why they did it. But applying it grossly, right now they apply it to the entire estimate. We are working with them. They are open to consideration to changing it to a trade level. So if you're doing 38 angle stops in a house, maybe it applies to plumbing, but not to other trades. So that's one example. I'll give you 2 other examples. ITIL, great product, been around forever. Highly recommend them. We've found out that there are some discounts to carriers that have been going on for like 20 years. So as a restorer, I just recommend, as you send in samples, don't include the carrier information, because there are multiple carriers where there's a 10% revenue reduction in the materials. And so again, those are all impacting margins for restorers. And I think the most concerning, and it's just now starting, but there are TPAs that are offering discounts to carriers upwards of 8%. I don't know if this will take traction or if it won't take traction, but there are multiple carriers that have this notion that because they're getting discounts in roofing, and I tried to show you how simple roofing was compared to what we do as restoration. They're trying to apply that to restoration, and they think because there's so much spend that there should be these discounts. And Xactimate pricing, totality, all of the pricing that we've always used is too much, because if the carrier is writing checks for $200 billion a year, they feel like I'm the one fronting it, but they're not the ones doing the point of sale. They're not the ones getting the discount. I'll even speak for my own company. We're not always getting, very rarely are we getting material discounts, because I'm simply passing it on to a subcontractor. But there's this notion in roofing that there's extreme discounts because you're buying large quantities, you're doing an entire house, and they're trying to apply that to restoration. And so there is a future where TPAs and carriers may be asking us in the room for 8% discounts on mitigation and repairs. And when I show you the slides on profitability, it's just not a sustainable future. So margin is changing. We've got the cost of doing business survey, which is getting ready to launch. This is a great report. I've been a fan of it. I have not been absolutely in love with the cost of doing business report until 2026. And the reason this is important, I've got the TPAs asking for this all of the time. We've got carriers. I'm providing this to Veris, Totality. This is helping the narrative. But the reality is most of you in this room have never filled out this survey. It shows 52% of us in 2024 made less than 10%. That's what your normal restaurant owner is making. That's not great margins. There's not 5%, there's not 8% to give to other restorers. 2025, we went down, which is really the year before. So that's really 2024 data. We're getting ready to release the 2026 data here shortly. I need all of you to fill it out. It takes an hour, but this is an investment in our future. This helps us fight the carriers. It helps any pricing pressure, but no offense, when I've only got 100 companies that fill out the survey, there's not a lot of credibility. I talked to one of the guys over at Veris the other day, and they were saying, well, Jeff, there was only, 100 people that filled out the survey? I mean, how credible is the survey itself? It's amazing data. I'm going to suspect that 52% went to 48%. I think everyone in the room is going to agree. It's going to go down last year just based off of revenue and the amount of volume that we had in the industry. So there's a lot of the industry that's trending at 5% or less, which is why we can't afford to give discounts and rebates. And that's why we need your friends in the neighborhood joining RA. I need you guys volunteering, really making a difference. This is the actual white paper I talked about on the Veris. This is the 5%. This is live. One thing I'll tell you, there are multiple carriers using it. Again, the intent was large loss. There's no definition of large loss. Every one of us in this room defines it differently. Every carrier defines it differently. So I can't blame Veris for not defining large loss. I will tell you, one of the 3 largest carriers is already using this. They're applying it on their average job of $30,000, and their median job is $10,000. And I think most of us restorers in the room would not agree that a $10,000 to $30,000 job is a large loss. That's your average everyday restoration job that we do. So here's the QR code for the cost of doing business survey. It's literally 1 hour of your time. If you've got a CFO, if you've got a CPA, you've got an accountant, you need to have your data out there. You have to fill this out. If you want us to go battle, if you want us to prevent losing 13% on the top line of your revenue, shame on you if you don't fill this out, because this is more powerful if I can get 800 people to fill it out. And all of us need to fill this out for us to be a viable industry moving forward.